Frank Grillo was at a comic book store basically holding up a Batman Nightfall graphic novel. A comic book. But what does it mean, everyone's asking? Did James Gunn send Frank Grillo to a comic book store to distract us from the cluster F that is Brave and the Bold, or what's going on with the delays of the Batman 2, or the confusion over who's going to be the DCU Batman? Or was he genuinely in there just reading a Batman Nightfall comic? Who knows? Of course, James has been very, very positive in promoting comic book stores and comics ever since he became the co-CEO of DC Studios. And that's one of the positive sides of James Gunn. And I agree, go to your local comic book stores, support them, buy comics, not necessarily DC Comics, Marvel, other stuff, because comic book stores are shutting down, and that's very sad. So if you want comic books to last, buy the ones that you love. They don't have to be new comics, it can be anything you want. So I agree with James and DC Studios promoting the comic book store and comics. That's where your great superhero adaptations come from. Without the comics, there is no films, there's no TV shows, there's no animation, no nothing. So I agree with that support of comics and comic book stores. But was they teasing a Batman Nightfall movie? Well, before I started this video, I thought of something. Are they actually, because if they're teasing a Batman Nightfall movie, my question would be, what's going on with Brave and the Bold? Because Batman Nightfall is one thing and Brave and the Bold is another thing. And as I keep on saying to you, it looks like Brave and the Bold is dead, because now they're saying it's still in active development. Well, guess what? So is the Black Superman movie from J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates. Its official label is it's still in active development, which actually means it's dead. In the biz, because I know this, because of my dad, active development may as well mean you ain't never going to see this movie or TV show or streaming show ever. And I don't think this is the Batman movie we're going to get, Brave and the Bold. I don't think we're going to get that. It's going to change, and you can forget about Muschietti ever going near Batman. And what sane person wants Muschietti, a man who said the bad CGI in The Flash was done purposely, or saying that the Flash character, nobody cares about the Flash character, which is total BS. And it's interesting, all the takes from Muschietti's, false statements. People have got plenty of takes, but not the right one. You should be outraged when someone is lying that nobody cares about the Flash character. That is nonsense. But anyway, it could be that they're not teasing a Batman Nightfall movie, but they're teasing a game or a streaming show. Because everything, all roads seem to lead with the DCU to streaming more than movies. Because there's not many movies out there, by the way, that they're going to be doing. There's a few. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow has started shooting. I'm actually quite intrigued and excited about that movie. I think we're getting a Bane movie, aren't we? And we're getting this animated, this groundbreaking animated movie as well. So there are cinematic things going on, but there's also stuff for streaming. So don't be surprised if they're teasing a Batman Nightfall game or a streaming show. Because James has even teased a Wonder Woman animated series before we even get a movie. We're getting a Wonder Woman Paradise Lost prequel show without Wonder Woman. But and that sounds amazing. It's supposed to be like Game of Thrones. I think it will be an HBO show, which Game of Thrones was. I'm rewatching Game of Thrones season 1, loving it. I think Ned Stark being killed off is still the most harrowing things ever. Oh my God, poor little Arya. Amazing. I love Game of Thrones. Even the crappy final season is better than a lot of the SHIT we get today. Anyway, back to Batman Nightfall. So I don't necessarily think they're teasing a Batman Nightfall movie. I know nothing about Batman Nightfall. I haven't done my research. Sorry about that, but just Google. That's what Google's there for, right? I will probably research it maybe after this video, or maybe we'll look deeper into Batman Nightfall in the next video. So keep it here on Movies TV Mad. So yeah, I'm not convinced they're teasing a movie. I think they could be teasing a game or a streaming series. Could it be that we don't actually get a Brave and the Bold movie, but we get a Batman Nightfall streaming series? This would be very DC. You know, one minute we're getting a movie, then we're getting a streaming show, because they're obsessed with uplifting their struggling streaming service, Max. That shouldn't be called Max, shouldn't have been called HBO Max, should have been called WB Plus or Warner Brothers Plus, so people actually know it's something to do with WB, a famous studio that owns so many IPs. You know, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, people know they're going there for Paramount stuff, you know, for Disney stuff. That's one of the reasons that HBO Max or Max simply doesn't work. Because if people knew it was the home of WB and their multitude of IPs, it would be doing a lot better. But don't expect New Hollywood to actually use logic in their thinking. So, yeah, not convinced we're getting a Batman Nightfall movie. It wouldn't surprise me, I'll reiterate what I've already said, if they're going for cancelling Brave and the Bold and giving us a Nightfall streaming show, but more than likely a Nightfall game. Now, we discussed this the other day. They were teasing gaming and TV and movies for cinemas as part of the DCU. And I asked this the other day. So where are the games? Has there been a game announced? There's been rumours and leaks about games, but, you know, and James Gunn's already confirmed that they're not attaching versions of games of movies, which I think is nuts. Something else I said the other day, if I was making a Superman movie, I'd be developing a Superman game at the same time as the movie. I'd have game developers on the bloody set. Now, I know it takes longer, you know, to develop a game than it does a movie, but that's what you've got to do. They should have taken their time with the Superman movie and not released or promoted that movie until the game is ready. Then you've got a game attached to a movie. But again, don't expect New Hollywood to have logic, business logic. This is why they're going out of business, and no LA wildfire is going to save their business, because the public have no sympathy over those fires. I do. I think it's a terrible tragedy, and I feel sorry for everyone in LA, but they all, you know, all these showbiz people are acting that LA is the first place that anything tragic or bad has ever happened. I was told off by Jay Oliver on Twitter. You know, he was saying, please help, some stuff was stolen during the fires, blah, blah, blah. And the guy kind of looked like Jason Momoa. So for a joke, I said, it's Jason Momoa. Please take this seriously. They're all ready. You know, I love Jay Oliver, by the way. He's a very talented artist. But, you know, people joke about tragedies. It's happened for generations. Calm down. I'm not trying to be an a-hole, but it doesn't matter. It is what it is. So, I mean, how would you react if they cancelled Brave and the Bold, but actually gave us a Batman Nightfall movie? By the way, Nightfall movie, streaming show, game, but, you know, especially if they cancel Brave and the Bold and they decide to give us a streaming series of Batman Nightfall instead. I'll tell you what you can do in the comments. You can explain to me what Batman Nightfall is. And I'm not using you for research, by the way. I've been a bit lazy today. I've had a very, very busy morning writing more drafts of my movie, Saving Judy Garland. I'm nowhere near going to pitch level yet. I want to perform it at my theatre first. And I do want to pitch it as a movie because it's a very special project. Judy Garland was someone who didn't have a choice in being in the industry. She was just put in there by her showbiz mother. She's a hero of mine, and really the character who goes back in time and meets Judy in 1938 during the production of The Wizard of Oz, you know, is based on me. But anyway, there's that. So I've been very, very busy. So I wanted to do a video. I wanted to talk about this. I always want to give you a daily video. I think that's important. I think you enjoy my daily videos, all 5 of you, or whoever actually stays for the whole 15 minutes of these videos. But yeah, I mean, my attitude is this. When I do my research on Batman Nightfall, I'll tell you what I would prefer. Brave and the Bold, which was supposed to be a fantastical, fun look at Batman for the DCU. Batman Nightfall, even without knowing anything about it, within the title, sounds a little bit darker. But then when we saw the teaser trailer for Superman, That looks like a bit of a darker movie. It did echo a lot of MOS and BVS in it. It's interesting, what is Gunn playing at? What a WB Discovery playing at? You were supposed to give us something so much better than the Snyderverse. I don't want something so much better than the Snyderverse because I loved the Snyderverse and I thought it was a great alternative to what the MCU were doing. And I think it was very Game of Thrones, the Snyderverse was very Game of Thrones for DCU, wasn't it? It was very, climactic, it was very brutal. It was a different way of doing a comic book movie, doing a CBM. And I said this on Nerdrotic, who was, shafting, making fun of Joker Folie and Doi. And I make the point, these people always complaining that entertainment is so generic, and as soon as someone like Phillips does something a little bit different, a CBM musical, or Snyder does MOS or BVS or the Snyder Cut, or something isn't exactly comic book accurate, everyone starts crying and complaining. Well, what do you want? The generic MCU, the generic DCU, what do you want? It seems like there's no pleasing you people. As soon as someone does a little bit off the cuff and unique, people start complaining. And that's my issue with the people who hated Joker Folie and Doi. Oh my God, the Joker dies at the end of that movie. So, he was never going to be a franchise Joker anyway. This was always not really a comic book Joker. Todd Phillips made that clear during the marketing and promotion of the first Joker, one of the great CBMs, one of the best comic book movies ever made, which really isn't really a comic book movie, but you know what I mean. It's based on a comic book character, and it's great. It's just about a mentally ill dude who's shafted, who's treated disgustingly by his mother. If you think about Baby P, who was murdered because he was tortured by his mother and her boyfriends in real life, you should research that story. I think Arthur Fleck has echoes of that, but he survived all his abuse, right? And he wasn't allowed to take his psych meds anymore. It was a great movie about the mentally ill. Not a mentally ill man, a mentally ill person. But anyway, yeah, I would watch this space. I believe they are going to cancel Brave and the Bold. I don't think that film in its shape will happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if Batman Nightfall is a streaming show they're teasing. But it seems like something you would make into a game. And maybe this will be the first DCU game. But no movie, no streaming show, but a game. Now, don't get me wrong. Give me a Batman Nightfall movie, even if you have to cancel Brave and the Bold, and attach a Batman Nightfall game to it, that's cool. But it's clear because of the Batman 2, we're not getting a DCU Batman movie till well after the 2027 release of the Batman 2, which is utterly problematic. Now, I'm going to get my dose of, an auteur director's Batman sequel. I'm excited. That's enough for me. But they're the ones who wanted a DCU Batman, and all of a sudden, a DCU Batman is nowhere to be seen. And I'll reiterate this as well. I would be very concerned for the DCU Batman if he doesn't cameo in that Superman movie, something I've also said before. So the DCU Batman situation is one hell of a mess. And, we need some clarification. What we really don't need is him sending Frank Grillo to a comic book store to tease Batman Nightfall and have us say, is it a movie? But it might, is it a game? Is it a streaming show? We don't need distracting. We need some clarification. And keep on telling us that you don't greenlight anything till you get a good script is the biggest of BS. That's what it is. It's a way to sound competent. But where's the competence in this? You knew when you launched that slate that Matt Reeves was given the green light by Zaslav and Discovery and Abby and DeLuca to make the Batman sequel. You knew that the studio was never going to allow you to have two Batman movies at the same time. Why did you attach Brave and the Bold to your slate when you most probably knew the studio were never going to allow you to start working on it? And then you create these problems. The public are paranoid. They're asking you questions. And the problem is, Mr. Gunn, you don't have any answers to those questions. And there lies the problem. What happens? We'll find out eventually.